everybody. Welcome to the Snow West Show. I'm Ryan Harris. Real quick before we get into this episode, the Snow West Show is made possible thanks to Polaris Snowmobiles. The Polaris Gift the Outdoor Holiday Sales Event is going on right now. Find the perfect gift for your loved one or for a Polaris fanatic with offers up to $3,000 off on select mountain sleds at your local Polaris dealer. Also, right now, you can take $50 off $250 purchase or $150 off a $750 purchase on all parts, accessories, and gear during the Gift the Outdoors Holiday Sales Event. Go see your local Polaris dealer to gear up for this upcoming riding season. Also sponsoring the show is 320 Guest Ranch, located in Big Sky, Montana, only 5 minutes away from Buck Ridge and Carrot Basin. 320 Guest Ranch offers lodging and accommodations for your next snowmobiling trip. Single cabins, large cabins. These full cabins have kitchens available. Check it out at 320ranch.com. Thanks also to Fly Racing for sponsoring the show and helping us bring this content to you. Fly Racing is the #1 gear brand in Supercross and Motocross, and they bring that same product innovation to snowmobiling. Whether it's monosuits, helmets, boots, gloves, goggles, Fly Racing has got you covered for your snowmobiling gear head to toe. Check them out at flyracing.com or at Fly Racing Snow on socials. And thanks to Deviant Ink for supporting the show. Head on over to deviantink.com, check out their custom wrap builder with their new interactive design tools that make designing and customizing wraps super easy. Their new colorizer tool randomizes color combinations until you land on the look that you love. Then you can try the design mixer tool to see all the Deviant Ink designs in the colors that you've selected. Check that out more at deviantink.com. Thanks for being a listener. Now on to the show. Hey everybody, welcome to the Snow West Show. I'm your host, Ryan Harris. We are back in the new studio. It's coming together. We got to do some paint. I got to adjust some of the stuff. I think we're going to redo that to get another one of those. But we have Keith Curtis down here from Dillon, Montana in studio today.
Yeah, good to be here. It's kind of a spur of the moment thing, but that's the best way to do it.
It was. We put this together a couple hours ago.
Yeah.
That's a lot of lead time. Then Dustin Stevens, Snow West Test Rider. This is probably your, third time back this week?
Yeah.
For a show?
Yeah.
For a podcast?
You just say, let's do a podcast, and I come over. So
you're going to be professional before you know it.
We've surpassed professional. What's the next level above professional?
Elite.
I don't know about that.
There you go. Yeah, definitely elite. So, Keith, we got a lot of stuff to talk about today, but to introduce you to everybody, if you don't know Keith, if you don't know who Keith Curtis is, you're probably not really paying attention to the Hillclimb scene in the snowmobile industry. 8-time King of Kings at Jackson Hole World Championship Hillclimbs.
Yep.
And you are, and Kyle Tapio has 7, correct?
6.
6.
Yep.
So you guys were tied.
Yep.
For a year, and then you've just kind of started walking away.
Yep. Yeah, it was kind of cool, like, obviously getting to that 6, because it takes at least 6 years to get 6, because you only get one chance a year for that King of Kings title. So, tying Kyle at the 6 was really cool, and I'm like, well, I gotta move on from that. Come on. So, got 7 and then got the 8. So just, trying to keep charging, moving forward, making progress.
And it's not easy to do. I mean, so for you to compete in the King of Kings competition, you have to win one of your classes, right?
Yeah, so to race for King of Kings, you either have to win Stock King, Improved King, or Modified King. And then those 3 King winners race against each other for the King of Kings title.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a big deal.
Does
hard to do consistently.
Does Snow Kings do it a little bit different than Rimshaw? Because didn't Rimshaw don't they have like a Keith Curtis rule, which allows more people the opportunity to get into the King runs?
Yeah, there's something like that.
How does that work?
So it used to be, Jackson's still the old format, which I like. So that means you have to win a class before you get to race for a King title,
So
which makes
winners,
sense.
Winners
Oh,
win.
yeah.
Winners get to move on to race for a King title. And now it's based off like points or something like that. Well, it's based off points. But I think it might be changing. Like if you get a first or a second, you can still race for King titles. So like they'll take the top 10 people in the stock division and based off points and like first or second place finishes, and you'll get a chance to race for a King title. Well, in that division. So they'll have like 10 people in stock, 10 improved, 10 in mod. So if you get a first place, you're automatically in that division to race for King of the Hill. So if you get a first, you still get one chance. But the difference is, like, a few years ago when it didn't used to be this rule, or in Jackson, say if you win 3 stock classes, if you win stock, stock 6, stock 9, and open stock, you have 3 chances to win stock king, which is pretty cool because if you put in the work and if you get a first place finish, you should be treated responsibly for that, or you should given the right, chances to win the king title, I guess. So, yeah, kind of different rule set between Jackson Hole and the rest of the Rimshaw races.
But Rimshaw is a Rocky Mountain States Hillclimb Association it's a members association, so it's not like a private race promoter company that's putting on these races. It's the group of you guys throwing money in a pot, coming up with rules, and going and racing each other and taking each other's money.
Yeah, true, true. With support from the manufacturers and other sponsors.
Nice,
of course, too.
Yeah. What are the contingency programs like these days?
I think they've gone down a little bit over the course of time, but it's still like the support's surprisingly good if you compare it to like the motorcycle industry, because I'm pretty heavily involved in that, at least in the hard enduro. And like for a stock win, you're around like $800. Kind of depends on stock, improved or mod, but you have 5 classes. So that's what I like to tell everyone. If you're looking at getting into Rimshaw, there's a lot of opportunity because there is a lot of support from manufacturers and sponsors, and it is a growing sport, and there's a lot of money in it, and there's a lot of contingency money in it. So if you win, you have 5 chances to win in pro class. And if you win a class, you're roughly $800 in contingency money per class. And then you get class purse money on top of that. So you can walk out winning a pretty decent amount of money. And then Jackson's on a whole nother level where the manufacturers kick in more money for king titles and king wins and class wins. So, I mean, you can make some pretty good money.
You don't have to answer this. I'm not going to ask you like exactly how much you're making, but you're making a living off of racing hill climb circuit, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've been making a living off racing Rimshaw since 2008. So I mean, I could have continued down that path of just only racing, and I mean, I've been very focused and regimented on like the racing and trying to like win the most I can and cross train in the summers and try to further myself and just build up those championships and the wins and the titles and everything. But I guess I've been an entrepreneur at heart. I went to college for business, and I just like business. It's fun to me. So I've kind of deviated a little bit, and while keeping a strong focus in racing, but also, rental houses and our side-by-side rental business. We're building an RV park. We owned a car wash, sold it. So it's exciting. I like the different business aspects of things, and but racing is always just, I mean, the more you win, the more you make. So that to me is fun, and it's intriguing because it's not an easy thing to do. You just always got to try to stay ahead of the competition.
Did you kind of take the fun out of hill climb racing?
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of haters.
Well,
it's fine.
It's a group of people that own businesses. That they're probably most blue collar labor, and then they go into winter not having to work as much. And farmers or plumbers or electricians, landscapers, a lot of landscapers.
Yeah.
That go into this, and then they work all summer and they race all winter, but they're living off of their summer work. Mm-hmm. You're living off of your winter race wins.
Yeah.
That's a big difference. And you kind of brought this different level of training and preparation.
Yeah. I guess people bring it back to like the Carmichael days when he like took things to that next level, and started training harder and eating better and just trying to be like a better overall athlete. And it was never like my intention, I guess. It just kind of came natural. Like, oh, I'm racing snowmobiles. I might as well, I don't know, get proper diet, nutrition, exercise. And that's been, those things right there take years and years and years of experience and knowledge to like truly dial in, because it doesn't come easy. If you go work with a personal trainer, they might know some things, but maybe they won't know other things. And have they ridden a snowmobile all day? Do they know what it's like to race a snowmobile or a dirt bike? Like, right. I don't know. It's kind of interesting. I've worked with a lot of people over the years, and it's fun to, always learn a little bit from everyone. So
Were you doing that level in like 2008?
no, not really. I mean, I started reading some books on like health and nutrition and stuff, but didn't really like, I guess as the time goes on, you meet new people and you start networking more and more and meeting more people along the way.
Right.
So you kind of learn more as the years go on. And of course, in today's world, there's so much information out there online that you can learn a lot just by watching YouTube videos and reading books. And
I feel like I know a lot about like stretching and health, but I just watch it on Instagram. I don't do any of it.
it's true.
I mean,
the
the knowledge is there. One of these years,
You know,
I'm going to be in great shape.
You know what you're supposed
It
to
ain't
do.
happening.
Right,
Yeah, I know what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah, there's so much content though, right?
Oh, yeah.
It is like I mean, there's so much content.
Yeah, it's almost gone from like not having very much content to having so much that it's actually hard to weed out like
Right.
good content.
Yeah, it's like when you go to a store and there's like 1,000 options or 100 options. You're like, I just want 5 of the best options.
Yeah.
What is that?
Yeah, it's hard to weed out.
Well, and you get down a rabbit hole like lower back stuff, and then all of a sudden you just get lower back posts popping up on your feed.
Yeah.
And then somebody can just like move their legs a different way and say, "Oh, this will unlock your back." I guarantee. Like everybody's got just something.
Do this
different.
simple move and you'll be good in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Or a week.
Yeah.
How much do you rely on just flat out getting on a snowmobile and riding all the time as training? And
Yeah. Yeah, it's a big part. I mean, seat time is critical, right? Like even as the years go on and you have that base knowledge of knowing how to ride and stuff, you still got to get that seat time in so you can stay sharp.
Stephen Clark, when we were at Heydays talking with him and Tony, just kind of made an offhanded comment about weekend warriors think that they are good riders, but there's only a certain level you can hit riding every weekend.
Yeah.
Versus going and riding with somebody like you that rides literally 6 days a week.
Yeah. Yeah. Until you kind of get exposed to it, right? Like you'll think you're doing good in your group and you are probably doing good in your group, but then I remember the first time riding with Chris years ago, like, I don't know, 08, 09 time frame. And it was cool because he's always pushing the limit and like his ability to get through the trees and side hill and go through the technical gnarly terrain. It was just fun to watch because I was like, oh, wow, okay. So, I mean, there is other levels to this. This is how these guys ride. So, but then you go home, you kind of regroup, regather, let it soak in, and then you start working on those things. That's the fun part about this sport. Whether backcountry or racing, like there's always a next level to be achieved and things that you can work on. And that's what I love about motorcycle, hard enduro too, is like, man, like the clutch control, throttle control, balance, like weighting the foot pegs, like there's so many variables that makes it really hard to learn everything. And I'm still learning. And I mean, there's still things obviously to be learned on a snowmobile too. Like you got the Sturkeys out there just doing crazy things, like stuff I obviously probably won't do, but it's cool to see.
New stuff and inventing new control methods.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can really manipulate a snowmobile.
Yeah. Yeah, he's really fluent and he's put in so much time.
Who is the hardest rider to keep up with on a sled for you, or maybe who has been? I guess in
the trees or
everywhere, anywhere. You break it down.
Just overall.
Break it into categories.
I mean, obviously, like if you're going through the trees, Brant, he does really good. Like he's fast and precise, and then he's got his tricked out mod sleds on top of it too. So he kind of cheats. He always cheats, but he's really good. So if you're going straight through the Colorado trees, he's hard to mess with. It's good though. It's fun. And then, if you get into like the real technical terrain, I'd say Caleb. He's just so good at navigating his way around like these features and obstacles and pillows and shelves, and like him and I kind of like the same type of technical terrain. Cause like Sealy where he lives, I mean, it's got a lot of that, and I like that riding area, and BC's got a lot of it too. And, yeah, probably those couple guys.
Caleb's really good at like maintaining momentum.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
throttle control, balance, like the momentum piece of it. Like he doesn't ever slam down and stop. It's always like very fluid, and you can tell that he's a few steps ahead of what you're seeing. Mentally, I think he's thinking way ahead. So,
And he never gets behind the sled. Like he's always,
mm-hmm.
he can do something and you're like, oh, that was a cool maneuver. He's done. But nope, he's still in front of the sled and he can just land that or do whatever he's doing and just keep moving. And I don't know how the snowmobile keeps moving under those conditions.
Yeah. He's a beast too. Like I think the strength comes in play there for sure. Like getting through some of those, like when you start slowing down, give that sled a push or just that little movement to get it going again.
Yeah.
Like he's really good at kind of staying ahead of that.
Yeah. What about on a bike? For everybody that doesn't know, Keith, you race. You've been racing hard enduro, like pro series hard enduro stuff. You did Erzberg several years ago.
Yep.
You just got back from Sea to Sky Enduro in Turkey.
Yep. So, yeah, Erzberg twice. Finished. Well, I finished around 22nd or something both the years, but the second year I actually finished the race, which was like a huge achievement for me. I've always been watching that video growing up, and
That's cool.
just a really, I mean, Erzberg's got that nostalgic feel when you get there too, and it's their kind of pinnacle race for the West Series. And then you had Romaniacs. It's 4 days through the Carpathian Mountains. I mean, the amount of terrain that you cover is insane. 4 very, very hard days, super difficult. And then, so it had been like 4 or 5 years since I'd been overseas. Last time I was over there was for Katie's and I's hard enduro honeymoon in 2019. And then COVID and all that stuff came. And then it was time. I was like, I'm ready to go do something. So Sea to Sky popped up this year. It was part of the West Series. So the race went from like being, I heard, fairly easy to finish to being pretty dang hard. Like it took me, I was 6 hours, 58 minutes to finish. We had a 7-hour cutoff. So really, really difficult the last day. But even like Graham Jarvis, he was like 5 hours in by the time he finished. So that's a lot of time on the bike for those guys. Like Manny won at like 4 hours 40.
With that kind of riding, especially.
Oh man, yeah,
it's different.
So talk about Sea to Sky a little bit. That one's different because on the last day you come off the ocean and you go up.
Yeah, it's really cool. So day 3, I'll give you a quick run through. So like that's probably one of the coolest things about the race is you start on the sand right on the Mediterranean Sea. And then you go through all the different types of topography from there to 7,700 feet to the top of Mount Olympus. There's a gondola that goes up to the top of Mount Olympus. Really cool terrain. The lower single track was not my favorite, like really cobbly rock, just hard to kind of get in a groove. But after the first couple hours, we got into that main ravine where there's like, they set up bridges and stuff where you ride through on your dirt bike and you don't want to fall in the pool or in the water because it's deep. You'll drown your bike, which I did, not in that section, but another section. But after that ravine, you start getting in the mountains, starting to get some ridge tops, some steep, gnarly hill climbs. And these they sent us through 2 ravines that were just like never ending. Just, it was really dry over there, but those ravines were like Ohio East Coast slippery, which is really hard to make it over. Like you're running gummy tires, soft bibs, like all the right combos, but it was really difficult to like get through some of those rock sections and make it up the ledges. And you're talking like 3-4 foot ledges. You're going up and through and these stair steps and no traction. I mean, you can look back through some footage and like even the pros are struggling with getting traction. So it was a really cool experience. So, you made your way through the ravines, the ridges, and then you made your way kind of like to that subalpine area where it was like riding on the moon. And it was just like this, almost like moon rock with spines of rock, but the loose rock would move away. So, and you start spinning and it's just like never ending, right? And you don't move forward, you just spin down. So it was like having the endurance to kind of get through all that loose rock those last 2 hours was like grueling. A Snickers bar right when I got out of so Turkey's version of a Snickers bar. I got out of these 2 ravines, I was like dead. Drank like 9 liters of water that day.
Gee.
A lot or more. And I get to this meadow, and all the racers do like sugar, candy, food, water, whatever. And this guy, I was like, do you have any sugar? And everyone speaks different languages. So that's why you say like sugar or something simple like water or whatever. And this guy pulled out like a Snickers bar for me, and I just chowed it down. I was like, oh man, that was the best candy bar I've ever had in my life. It seriously saved me. I wouldn't have been able to get to the top. And then I started cramping on my inner thigh. It was terrible. Like I had to try riding with a straight leg while like going out through this really technical stuff. Not a fun feeling.
Oh, yeah.
For like hour and a half, I was cramping up, or more, 2 hours. I don't know. It was a lot.
Jeez, that sounds like a ride to Four Corners for me, cramping up and
Yeah.
eating candy. 20-minute ride.
But it was
geez.
cool. Like it's cool when racers from like 30 different countries show up in one spot.
Yeah, that's really.
And you're all racing and having fun and having a good time. And in that race, there was 16 finishers out of, 400 people. And I was the last one. So it was pretty cool.
16 people finished that.
Yep.
Though.
Yep.
Wow. Does that pay?
No.
Is there payout for finishing?
No, and I don't even know if like the first, second, third place guy, I don't know if they
There's no
get paid.
purse. I mean, it's a Red Bull.
No, like, yeah, I know.
It's an
weird.
FIM event, but it's kind of part of the Red Bull series, right?
Yeah.
And there's no purse money.
No. Like at Erzberg, if you win Erzberg, you get a rock.
I didn't know
How does
that.
that even make sense?
I didn't know that.
Really?
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, of course, all the top riders, they got their own sponsors.
Right.
They're getting,
It probably just gives you the ability to go get bigger sponsors, right?
Right.
100%. But it is still weird, though. Like, you should have some sort of class purse money, because that's not cheap. I mean,
So what did it
Yeah.
cost you to go race over in Turkey?
I was just thinking, like, I think the registration, man, I'm terrible with remembering numbers like that. I think it was like $800 or $1,000 just for the entry fee. Maybe it was like $1,500. It was quite a bit. So you even say $1,000 at
Yeah.
400 racers, you do the math. I mean, that's a lot of money. Or I don't know where all that. There's a lot of money, obviously, that goes into the promoter for setting up the race and the timing system, scoring system, all the people and everything. But that's a lot of money.
Do you just go do this on your own, or do you have sponsors that are?
I did have a few sponsors that helped out, like Maverick helped out, Climb helped out, Carl's helped out, and some others.
Nice.
Oh, that's good.
Yep. Fun times.
You should go sign up for that, Justin.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you should. You
I could get a
you
rock.
both should.
You got a brand new Husky somewhere.
Yeah. I've always got one sitting somewhere. that
Go
needs
bust that
ridden,
thing out, bring
so.
it in.
Well, that'd be a great way to break it in. I mean, give it some character.
Yeah.
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 So who are the dirt bike racers that you look up to that are just phenomenal?
Man, there's a lot of them, but so I mean, what's pretty cool is like someone like Graham Jarvis. He's 51 years old, and he's kind of the Tom Brady of his sport. It's pretty cool. I mean, he got second at Sea to Sky.
That's impressive.
I mean, and his talent is really good. He's just so smooth and precise, doesn't waste any extra energy. But, Manny Lettenbichler, he's been killing it. He's been destroying everyone competition-wise.
How old is he?
I think he's mid-20s. So you got Manny. You have the Billies, of course. Billy Bolt's a beast. I mean, he was out for knee injury for a while, but he just won the last race, Xpania. Mario Ramon. You got Wade Young. All those guys are really good. Alfredo Gomez. And then there's a pile of other racers who are just chomping at the bit.
Right there.
Yep.
Would you rather race a hard enduro or Jackson?
Man, it's just so different. Like, what's cool about the hard enduros is you're out there for several hours. So it's like a long game of chess. You don't want to be stupid and loop your bike out and wreck something and break something because you got hours of racing ahead of you. So you do have to play it smart. But it's kind of cool too because it's kind of like a game. It's like who's going to break down first, mentally or physically or maybe mechanically too.
Yeah.
So you have to ride smart. You got to ride smooth, and you got to take all these different things into consideration. And Rimshaw is awesome, but you have 5 classes that you're racing, and then potential king runs. So you're like 8-9 runs total in Jackson on Sunday. I guess it'd be 9. No, I guess Jackson would be a little different. You could have up to, since you get one run per every class, if you did a full sweep, you could potentially have 14 runs. Well,
So if you won all 5 of your classes, you would have.
yeah. But like all the other rim shot races, you would have the 5 runs for your classes and then 3 king runs, so 8. But Jackson would be like 5 class wins, and then you'd have 5 chances to win for king, but depends if you needed to take all those chances. So there's 10. And then you'd have stock king, improved king, mod king. So that'd be 13. And then if you won those kings, you wouldn't have to run for king of kings.
But if somebody else won one of the 3, you would run again.
Another.
Yep.
So you'd wind up at 13. Well, you'd wind up at 14.
Yeah.
All said and done there.
Yeah, quite a few.
Man.
Which the arm pump there is kind of gnarly. Like last year I got a lot of arm pump for some reason. I don't know. The course was really straight. It wasn't even that technical. Like it was, I don't know. From year to year, they kind of change it, you know. But last year it was really straight, and there was like no side hills in it. Hopefully they make it hard this year.
You were back on
Technical.
exhibition. The year before that, you were on whatever it is, Cougar, the one to the east.
Yeah. And that one, they made it good. Like they had a big long side hill in it, and just, I don't know. It just kind of depends what they're feeling that day, I guess, the course setter. But it's always fun when they make it technical, because that's what sets the racers apart. If it's straight, it's just like riding single track on a dirt bike, like a fast trail on a fast single track trail on a dirt bike. Like anyone can go pretty quick, right? But you throw some rocks and logs in there and some separators, it makes you work in a different way. And same with rim shot. Like you need those separators so it separates the racers.
Hillclimb has always been very interesting to me because you don't get to practice.
Yeah.
On the actual race course. You can go practice all you want during the week, but you're building your own course. But when you show up at Jackson or any of the other rimshot events, you're not on the gates until the time is running.
Right.
Qualifiers.
Yeah.
And then if you take Jackson, so you qualify on the bottom half of the mountain, just through the gates, S's, and you've been really good at that. But you don't get the top part of the mountain until Saturday qualifying, right?
Right. For mod.
For mod, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So everything up to mod class, you qualify on the bottom half. And then mod, you can qualify on the top half, and then Sunday everybody runs the full length of the mountain.
Correct.
But when your class is up and you're on the start, that's your first run at the mountain, and however the gates may be at that given time.
Right. And the snow conditions.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was gonna say it's ever changing. With snow, it's so different. Dirt, it'll change a little bit. You might have some rocks roll down or something change, but not like snow. I mean, depending on the snowpack,
Sun's
whether it's
coming
hot,
out.
cold. Yeah,
Yeah. So I talked to the Snow Devils about this a little bit, but like last year, you know, they start out with the smaller classes, so the 600 classes and the 700 classes. Well, they make it really technical in the mornings. Like last year, they made it technical for the 6 and 7 classes, and that it was icy too, so it was like sketchy. And there was a lot of wrecked sleds and took forever, and it's how it goes sometimes. But my suggestion is open it up a little bit for the 6 and 7s. Let them shuffle through it. And then as it warms up, the snow gets softer. And then in the 9 and open classes, make it more technical. Move some gates over so you have some side hills, have some separators.
That'd make sense. And then get a little metal on the snow early on too, right?
Yep.
Like chew that up a little bit.
Right. Yeah, kind of mulch it up a little bit.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I mean, the screws will mulch up that snow pretty quick.
If you could change anything about the format in Rimshot or at Jackson, just to make it more interesting, more competitive, like a throwaway run, a redo, something with timing. I don't know. Have you any thoughts towards that?
Not really. I mean, there's been so many things discussed over the years and kind of tried. You know, it would obviously be more thrilling if there was more than one person running up the course at the time, right? At a time. But I don't know. I don't know if it would work.
it's a tough one.
I think a lot of people like how safe Rimshot is for racing. I mean, anything can happen, but it's a relatively safe form of racing, you know. But obviously more than one person at a time would make it more thrilling, but I just don't know if that's going to happen or not. As far as having like a throwout run, I don't think that would really work either. We just have so many different CC classes and so many different classes in each, you know, which kind of gives everyone a class that they would run or can run. And it's almost like the 6 and 7 classes have turned into like a pro light, and the 9 and opens have turned into a pro.
Yeah.
I mean, there's still some really good racers in 6 and 7s, but it's kind of how it's been lately.
Yeah, it has for sure. Like it'd be nice to see everybody race everybody in at least one class.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so all the pros are head to head.
Yeah.
But in Hillclimb, that's even hard too, because if you say you have 25 people in a class, the first guy out gets a different mountain than the 25th guy.
Yeah,
Significantly different.
I've always thought what would be really cool, and I actually wrote something up years ago, I don't know, 10 years ago, about this different format that would be completely different than Rimshaw. But you have a ski area, and you basically have a hard enduro on a ski area. So it'd be, you know, a couple hours long. It could be GPS based, or it could be flagged really good. And of course, as the riders go through, there's not going to be much snow left in certain areas. Depends what the base is like. You'd want to race in an area that's got good compact snow that just doesn't blow away. But I've always thought that format, making multiple laps around the ski area in a hard enduro format, would be really fun. And the spectators could like go hang out at the technical sections and watch the racers come through. It'd be, you know, longer duration, which would be cool too. You're putting some like backcountry skill in there with race skill. Might be pretty cool.
A little bit, maybe even a little more head-to-head competition, because you could actually run. I think if you had a track big enough, long enough, you could probably run multiple riders, don't you think?
Oh yeah, and like this format, you'd be running
Kind of like motocross track. And
you'd be running 100 people, but you'd have to have a qualifying format, a 5-10 minute run in the morning, up a road or whatever. That's what Erzberg does. They run people up a road, which isn't the fairest, because like the hard enduro guys, some of them aren't as quick on the road, but it's a quick, easy way to shuffle people through to figure out their times. And then you could just move on to however you're doing that is how you start. And you could be like, you could start one at a time. I don't know. You could do it in a lot of different ways. You could start at one at a time, and then the times behind are added. Like, what did they call that? Accumulative, or I don't know. Like if the first person starts and then second person starts 30 seconds after, a minute after.
Oh yeah.
And then you get that time added back to your time at the end. But
that'd be kind of cool. I know. I think back when we were talking with Rimshaw before, they kept trying to get ESPN involved, and they just said we can't do something where there's not head-to-head competition. They have to have something that is competitive. I think that's why that they had that first snowcross, or I guess snowcross Hillclimb at X Games. Mm-hmm. That's one of the reasons that happened, I think, was because they thought, well, at least we could send 5 or 6 guys up the hill and it looks like a race. So it's hard to
the hill cross.
One guy, the hill cross, yeah.
And it is thrilling to watch to some extent. I don't know. I think it's more fun to watch than actually race.
Did you compete in that?
I did. Yeah.
What did you think of that format?
What happened? My key fell out.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah. That sucked. Yeah, that sucked. But it relies on who gets the whole shot. Yeah. Like a lot of it, right? I mean, you get stuck behind someone and there's roost hitting you in the face. It's hard to make a pass.
Yeah. And I don't think they don't have Hillcross anymore, right?
No.
Yeah. That didn't last very long.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Rob Kincaid went down there and raced and got landed on and chewed up his back. I mean, it's
Supercharger ended up winning it because they had that really good bottom end, and they were just able to get out of the gate.
Who was on that, Titus?
I can't even remember. Nah, it wasn't Titus.
No, I can't. Yeah,
it was an Articat guy.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, but Nathan. Yeah, I can't remember that. I think Titus landed on Rob, right?
That might have been it. Yeah,
that's where his name comes up. But
it's kind of sketchy. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a sketchy format. I mean, Snow West used to run RMX CRC, the cross country circuit, way back in the day, like late '80s, early '90s, probably through around 2000. But there were cross country races in West Yellowstone during the expo, and then we had the big Snow West Snowcross. And the cross country race would incorporate the snowcross track.
Oh,
So you wouldn't, the spectators could hang out at the snowcross track, watch the guys come in from a 20-mile lap, and then they'd have to do a couple laps on the snowcross track with jumps and berms, and it would tighten things up because if you're close to each other on that home stretch, you can close them on a corner.
yeah.
If you're good with turns and that, but
Yeah.
yeah, there's got to be some thing to do with hill climbing to get it.
It's kind of what they do in the hard enduro motorcycle stuff too, is like in some of the hard enduros they have in a lap type thing, they have the racers go through a technical bit like towards the finish line, and then they go into the woods for a while and then come back.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think a format like that on a ski area would be really cool. And you'd bring in a lot of backcountry enthusiasts, plus like the racers too.
Yeah, and Rimshaw is not I mean, it's a fun thing to watch, and I love the series, and I love the people involved, and I think Melissa being involved this year, she's going to do great.
For sure.
But it's not an easy sport to just start doing. If you're a snowmobiler and you've got a mountain sled,
Right.
it's not easy just to go enter a Rimshaw race. You've got to do a lot to your mountain sled, and then what you do to it makes it harder to just take it out on a weekend and ride.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, the thing that's toughest is probably the track. But because you need a
Studded track.
Yeah, you need a cut and studded track for Rimshaw to get proper traction. I mean, it's just kind of how it is. Other than that, there's not too much stuff though. And I mean, with the players, it's pretty quick and easy to swap out a track. You're talking, 20 minutes if you know what you're doing, 15 minutes. So I don't know. I mean, a guy could get away with one sled. You'd just be swapping tracks back and forth, which I did it back in the day. I mean, you have to do what you got to do. But if you're getting in, like, I guess the best way to do it would be to have one backcountry sled. And then depending on what class you're going to get in, whether it's semi-pro, really in semi-pro, you could just race one stock sled in all 4 classes. Not ideal, but you can make it happen.
Yeah.
2 sleds, run it, hammer down.
Yeah, and it goes back to the group of people that compete in Rimshaw that have the winners have a lot of the time off in winter. And make good money and have a lot of machines, and
Right.
they can do it, and they keep the circuit busy.
Yeah, I mean, what Rimshaw's always done a really good job at maintaining. The sport always just continues forward with the format that it's in, which is a hard thing to change if it's working, and it's been working for how many years? 30, 40 years.
Yeah.
So,
It outlasted RMX CRC, Mountain West Racing. Like it's outlasted Western Snowcross period. Like there is no Western Snowcross anymore.
and I think it's just because there's so many different options for classes, which is cool. So, if you start doing head to head, it kind of changes that whole dynamic. So, I don't know. I thought it was just continue the way it is. But if someone else came in and had some sort of different event, not part of Rimshaw, I mean, I guess Rimshaw could handle that too, maybe, but have a totally different hard enduro event that was held at a ski area, it'd be a completely kind of separate event, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I don't want to. I mean, I'm not trying to suggest to anybody that we need to change foundationally what Rimshaw is. Mm-hmm. I just know that for them to bring in corporations outside of the snowmobile industry as sponsors, like Red Bull, for example, or Rockstar, or whatever, it needs to have that head-to-head aspect. It needs to do something.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just going to continue. And like you said, credit to them for keeping it steady for so long. Like it's lasted a long time.
Yeah. Yeah. I hear you. Yeah.
Maybe after racing, you'll go solve all these problems.
Yeah, maybe. It's always, I don't know. I look at what some of the promoters do. I'm like, oh my gosh, they put in a lot of time and effort.
I've got a few questions for you. I've got a few questions of my own, and then we're going to get into questions from followers on social media. We posted this morning.
Oh, nice.
On Instagram, Facebook, on our stories. Players shared it on stories too.
Oh, cool.
So we got quite a few responses on that. We'll get into those in just a second. I wanted to ask you, what do you do to prep for the upcoming sled season?
Well, I mean, it starts when snowmobile season ends. I never really stop. So it's like I move forward and continue cross training on dirt bikes and e-mountain bikes. And it's just a lifestyle to try to stay healthy nutritionally, hitting the gym when I can and just staying healthy.
When your sleds show up, what do you ride backcountry first? Like, you get to choose what you're riding? Does Polaris like kind of put you on what they want to market?
I get to choose for the most part. I mean, we're all pretty much on Chaoses. And we, I end up changing my Chaos to the Pro form just because I don't like when they wheelie so much. It makes it fun when they wheelie and stuff, but I kind of like when they're really steep and technical stuff, I like to suck up the limiter strap just a little bit. So we'll drive forward and not wheelie so much because I like the technical terrain. But that's the cool part. I mean, I'm mainly riding boosters in the backcountry now, though.
Any 9Rs?
Not really. I mean, I love the 9Rs and they're great. It kind of depends what snow you're in. But when all your buddies are on boosters, you don't want to be the guy in the 9R. I used to be able to kind of get away with it, but man, it's tough.
It's like some of these old guys that say everybody would have more fun on a 600. Like, yeah, until the one guy shows up on an 850.
That's true. If everyone was on 9Rs, for sure.
Yeah.
But if one person goes in your group and they're on a booster and they're, pushing the limit on the booster, it's really hard to be the guy on the 9R.
Backcountry, what track length do you go with?
155. So I keep 155 across the board just so it's the same everywhere.
That's what you race?
Yep.
Too?
Yep.
325 track, 275 track? What do you
275.
Everywhere?
Yep.
Really?
Yep. I like the 275. I mean, I guess the reason I like it is I like going fast down the trails, down the whooped out trails and stuff. And it seems like the 275 does that a little better on the icy conditions and stuff. And then it's the same track that I race in Hillclimb too.
Yeah. I like the 325 track.
For powder,
Just all around.
Really?
I mean, it's more durable. Like, I'm not cutting it like you are.
yeah.
But we have to replace a 275 track a couple times a year.
Yeah.
On our fleet sleds. They'll just tear
Yeah, I
the
think
out.
all the tracks on OEMs single ply now.
I think so. Just because you want that lightweight.
It's almost like a
rotated
gummy
mass.
tire on a dirt bike.
Yeah.
It's an expendable
just-
piece of.
Yeah.
It'll work
You
better while you're
just-
using it, but you're going to have to
Yeah.
replace it.
Don't hit stumps and don't hit rocks. If you're on snow, they'll hold up. But you start digging down and churning up the dirt and the rocks and stumps.
Oh, you got idiots like me that just keep it pinned.
I think we all do.
With no
It's
snow.
just the stubbornness.
But in that moment, you're like, screw it,
I'm not getting
$1,500 track,
stuck.
I don't care.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
I'm getting out of this hole.
Brant's famous for that. Like he will dig until he's to China before he claims that he gets stuck.
If he can get the tunnel to move half an inch, he ain't stuck.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're all calling it in, but yeah. What specific little things do you do to your backcountry sleds to kind of make them your own?
So a few things I do is suspension. I kind of like keeping my suspension the same for my race sleds, my backcountry sleds, because how hard we're riding the sleds in the backcountry, like through the trails, and I'm not a huge jumper, but when we do jump and stuff, it's nice to have the same setup across the board. So suspension is one. I use Carl's valving with the Walker Evans Velocity shocks there. I mean, that's a great combo. And stock is great too, really, just depending on what your riding style is and what your talent level is.
What benefits do you get out of valve changing? Like, I don't know if the snowmobile crowd is nearly as in tune with suspension tuning as the dirt bike crowd is.
Sure. Yeah, I would agree. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, in the harsher conditions, like when it's icier, if you come into a big hole or G out on stock suspension, I'll blow it through pretty quick because I'm hitting stuff hard and riding through the holes hard and stuff. So that it makes it a more mellow and enjoyable ride without bottoming out so much. And it keeps you in control through the whoops and through the terrain.
Do you do anything handlebar wise? What bar height do you run?
I run the mids. Pretty tall guy. I was running talls for a long time, and then I went to mids. I like mids. So yeah, just mid bars. Do some clutching stuff. Depending on what elevation you're riding, I think it's really important to get the clutching dialed in for the elevation that you're riding. I mean, you want that proper RPM, and you want it to backshift super quick and on point. And I think Polaris does a good job out of the box for that, but I think sharpening that up for the elevation that you're riding and the riding that you're doing is important.
I have one other question and just totally disappeared. All right, let's jump into some of these questions from
Let's do
followers on
it.
social media.
Yeah.
All right. Rhett Clark, who was going to be here, he jumped on Facebook, and a couple people asked this, but I think he asked it first. Would you consider yourself a better snowmobiler or dirt biker?
Snowmobiler. Yeah. Probably snowmobiler. Like I don't know. I guess if snowmobiling was like as big internationally as dirt biking is, that is kind of a tricky question, I guess. Because like I said, Sea to Sky, there's racers from 30 different countries there, and there was like 16 of us that finished. And there were some people like that didn't show up from the States and Canada and stuff, but probably snowmobile though. Yeah.
Snowbound Tours on Instagram. He asked, when you're climbing Snow King Mountain exhibition run at Jackson, what percentage of the time from the catwalk to the top do you have the brake engaged?
Less than the bottom portion.
More so on the bottom, huh?
Oh yeah. Yeah. More so on the bottom, because you got those kind of sweeping corners. So you're always riding the brake. I mean, the brakes get hot for sure.
Yeah. Kelly Canyon, when you guys were racing in the dark.
Yeah.
Like a lot of those sleds, you could just see this orange ball just glowing. Up the mountain.
Yeah. You could really see it on the skidoos because they're lower, and you can see it on the side of the tunnel there, and literally glowing. It was crazy, but I'm sure I know ours were glowing.
So break that down. How are you doing that? Just take us through the bottom half of Jackson, I guess.
Yeah, so like the bottom half of Jackson it's faster, and it's more sweeping corners. It's not as technical as the top. So because it's not as technical, you're trying to get through the corners as quickly as you can. And to do that, riding the brake and giving it throttle at the same time is a better, more efficient way of getting through the corner. I know it sounds backwards.
Yeah.
But it takes a lot of time to kind of try to master that. And if you're able to keep on that brake a little bit and on the throttle, it keeps that motor in the right RPM range to kind of keep it quicker when you let off the brake.
So rather than letting off the throttle and letting the belt come back up in the secondary,
you already kind of
you can hold it shifted,
right?
But slow the sled down a little bit.
Yep, exactly. Like the top part of Jackson, it depends on how straight it is. Like when it's really technical on the top part of Jackson, you're more reliant on rider skill rather than having to work the brake so much because it's steep and it's gnarly. I mean, if it's set up technical, you're not using the brake a lot on the top part of Jackson, but you'll always see our brake lights on. I mean, we're always kind of tapping it or just, barely on the brake, but full throttle a lot.
Are you doing any of that technique backcountry?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, not as much. Like I can make a set of brake pads last a long time in the backcountry, but on a race course, depending on the race, the flatter the course and the less technical it is, the more brake pads that you go through.
Where are you doing this backcountry riding, where you're on the brake and the throttle at the same time?
A lot of places, most places. I mean, on the trail ride up for sure. And it might not be, like I said, it's not as aggressive as it is on the rimshot race course, but you're still like riding the brake a lot and on the throttle a little bit. And then through the trees, for sure. Through the trees, you want to stay shifted out to that level and just be in that proper gear, basically, when you let off the brake.
You do that, Justin?
Not to that degree, no.
It's important, though.
It reminds me of just, dirt biking, because I'm sure it's something that you've honed in, like, doing all the time. So, if you're dirt biking, you don't really think about how you clutch and how you brake. You've just learned to do certain things as you go through corners, and you're still on the throttle. And
right.
So, but yeah, I'm not as skilled as Keith, no.
I remember Carl Kuster in 2019. We were up at CKMP riding up there, and the Skidoos wheelie more than a Polaris. Mm-hmm. So, but we were watching Carl, and I'm like, how the heck do you keep the nose down the way you do? And he's like, well, I keep my knees up against the pad, and then anytime the nose starts to lift, I don't let off the throttle, but I'll just spike the brake.
Ah,
And
yep.
it'll just force that chassis. It'll twist the chassis back down.
Yep.
So I started doing that a little bit, and
That's a good
it
point.
helps.
Yeah, good way to explain it too. And that it definitely does do that too. It keeps that front end down a little bit when you need to.
Yeah. All right. Cody Richmond on Instagram, he asked a lot of questions. A couple good ones. What's your most memorable win?
Probably my first King of Kings in 2008, because it was like my kind of breakout year. You know, it's like I was called the dark horse in 2007 going into 2008, and 08 was my first year on Polaris. I think it was your guys' magazine that wrote it up back in the day.
Yeah, I was on the mountain.
Oh yeah,
watching that, and then I came down and watched you get interviewed, and I think I wrote a caption about you being some long-haired punk kid.
Yep, probably my wings out, and
Yeah, you had
a ton of hair back then.
But no, that was an incredible event.
Yeah, so 08 King of Kings, it was cool. Just the winning King of Kings on my stalker was really cool.
Who did you beat?
Kyle Tapio and Les Keller. And I think they both got stuck in the rock garden. They're like, that year was really deep, and like the trenches were super deep, and the head walls were big, and like a little bit of a Russian roulette thing, you know. But it was sweet, like getting it up and over that thing, waiting at the top, just biting my fingernails, waiting for those guys, and just listening to come up the mountain. Like, are they gonna get through it? And you know, Les got stuck, and then Kyle ended up. He was on a booster. Kyle was on a booster, and Les was on an improver, and they both got stuck around the same area. But yeah, listening to those guys come up the mountain, and Kyle on his booster coming up, and that was a long time ago.
Did being on a stalker in that King run help? You think?
Maybe because it was so technical. Sometimes stalkers are easier to ride. Like I will say that, like the 9R versus the booster, the 9R is an easier snowmobile to ride. Like you're less fatigued at the end of the day than you are riding a booster, which is kind of like why I like riding a booster, because it's better training, right? You're, little, the sled feels a little bit heavier compared to an NA sled.
Cody Richmond also asked, what loss sticks out the most? What's the most memorable loss? But I mean, you try to forget these, but what's
losses?
What's the most painful loss?
Ugh.
And to
I
who?
want to bring that up. Yeah, I mean, it kind of, any loss sucks, right? Like I hate losing.
It's funny going back, because earlier in the show you called somebody the Tom Brady of dirt biking.
Right, like Graham. Yeah.
I've always looked at you like you're the Tom Brady of dirt biking, because like who's the Bucks quarterback that got in a little heat this year for making a joke about Tom Brady? Like, I'm bringing the fun back to football, and Tom was like, "Hey man, if you're not winning championships, it's not fun."
Yeah.
Right.
And that's always kind of been your approach, is like, I'm here to win. I'm not here screwing around.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the painful losses, I don't know if one in particular, but it would probably be like Jackson Hole, King of Kings runs. Like last year, lost out. I was riding my stock booster against Justin on his mod, and I think he got me by like a second or something. And I was like, gosh, dang it. Like 1 second, So, yeah, probably Jackson Hole, King of Kings.
And Justin ran after you, right?
Yeah.
For that King of King run?
Yeah.
So you were down at the bottom, or you were up on top?
I was up on top.
So just take it, that's a 2-minute run. Like, take us through that.
Yeah. So I won Stock King and Improved King. So I had my chance to run both my stock, which was a stock booster, but it's a stock snowmobile, and then my improver. I had a chance to race both those up for King of Kings. So like I said, I was getting nasty arm pump that day, and I was like, well, I'll just take my stock booster up first because it's got more power than the improver, and I feel good on it. So went out, made a really good run. Like the run felt really good. I mean, there was a couple sections where I maybe could have made up a little time, but I was giving her basically all she had. Had a nice smooth run to the top, hit my lines I wanted to hit, made it through the technical sections good. Like I said, there wasn't a whole lot of technicality in the course itself. I mean, Jackson's always technical at some level because it's so steep and gnarly, right?
Yeah.
But anyways, made my run up there. And then Justin came up on his mod, and I'm sure he picked his, 9 mod, right? 9 turbo. And yeah, I was like, man, I made a pretty good run. I think it was like 116. And then he comes up, and I think he throws down 115. So at that point, I had to go down. I got to go down and race my improver up the mountain. And at that, I was getting, I guess my arm pump, that's the only, not excuse, but that was the only thing that was maybe holding me back a little bit at that time. Was like when I was on my improver, I was getting some arm pump, and it's really hard to hold on when you have arm pump. You're starting to steer with your feet, and you're just not able to like be as precise and sharp as you need to be. So I made a solid run on my improver. I think it was like a 118, but there was a couple bobbles I had. And it's always interesting because the improver is a weapon. It really is. Like, it's fast. It's got, the 900 Carl's motor, SLP twin pipes, and like it's quick, and it's got tons of torque, and it's light, and it's fast, and it's nimble. But yeah, I made a couple bobbles in that one and got to the top, and I knew I didn't have that once I got to about the halfway point. I'm like, crap. Maybe not the halfway point, but like one bobble that I made, I tried cutting high across the side hill and about stuffed it. And at that point I was like, well, there that goes.
Shoot.
A minute 15, a minute 14, that's gotta be about the fastest runs we've ever had.
Yeah.
You remember faster?
Yeah. I mean, someone broke a minute one year. I think it was that Brown. Who was it? Norris Brown?
Was it Norris?
Someone? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But it all depends, like what the course is like and
Right.
where you're getting positioned. And
I
a minute's quick.
I remember that.
Yeah.
That was a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, and as the years go on, they do get it more technical than way years back, right? Like it used to have to be straight so people could get through it.
Yeah.
And now it's like we want it to be more technical, and like a lot of the other top pro racers want it more technical too. And I've talked to a lot of racers about it. I'm like, hey, let's put the word in. We want the Snow Devils to make it technical, like more technical. They're like, I'm totally on board. Let's do it. So
Yeah, that's awesome.
yeah.
Those guys are good. Some guy from Colorado named Chris Brandt.
Who's that?
Ever heard of him?
Who's that guy?
I've heard he rides.
Chris asks, who's your favorite person to ride with?
Oh, he would ask that. Brandt's fun to ride with.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's nothing more special and fun than like you get to the top of the mountain after a nasty line, you give each other a high five, and you're on to the next mountain to climb. It's pretty cool. I've had some memorable moments.
He enjoys snowmobiling about it much or more than anybody I know.
It's amazing. Yeah, he's been at it so long, and he's like so genuinely passionate about it. So cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's the OG, and I mean Dan, and there's a lot of OGs, but Chris is definitely one of them.
Chris asked again, where's your favorite place to ride?
Yeah, probably BC. They got so much variety up there, and the snow is so good. And I do like parts of Montana, like Western Montana is really good. Some parts of Idaho, like McCall's fun. But BC kind of has it all in one spot. They got the features, they got the snow.
Yeah. And they get pretty consistent snow.
They always
It's
get
just
snow.
like,
It's like one good storm of theirs is like, we get that in all one season. Like one storm of theirs is our accumulative for one season. Sometimes.
Well, Tony and Nadine, when I was talking to them earlier this week, because they went to Japan and rode, you've been over to Japan.
Yeah.
They were saying that, they said that right up front that Japan gets more snow than anywhere on the planet. I was like, whatever, Tony. But
Yeah.
What's Tony know? Come on, Tony.
but he's like, yeah, it would snow, and it would snow like 8 feet.
Yeah.
Like just,
And it's the good snow too, right?
yeah. Well, depending on where you're at, there's coastal snow, and then there's continental snow, like Colorado stuff, on different parts of the island. And yeah, he said they were on like, it was considered a bad snow year, and they were on 25 feet of snow.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Well, it snowed the whole time we were there, like consistently each night. So you'd wake up in the morning to just like a fresh refresh every single day. So
I would like to go ride there someday. I've heard cool things about it.
Have you been overseas anywhere?
No. Oh, well, Russia. Yeah, sorry. I've been to Russia twice.
Okay.
So, and Russia was cool. Like, great experience. Very cool going to Urgaki. It was cool. Like, the travel's gnarly, for sure. It's a long ways over there.
Yeah.
But and I went to the other location, too. I forgot the name of it. But Urgaki and then the other location that everyone goes to.
Yeah.
But
I don't
that
know
trip
about
was
that either.
that trip was like I passport problems and I didn't get to go. I was literally there for like 2 or 3 days and I turned around and come back. It was gnarly.
Wow, really?
Yeah, because I think it was something about getting my passport on time here.
Shoot.
It was bad. Just always expedite it and just be done with it.
Yeah.
You just tried to sneak into Russia, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, that ain't gonna happen.
Went out
I would like to go to Romania. They snowmobile there, which would be kind of cool.
Have you ever taken any of these dirt bike buddies that like the pro racers? Have you ever taken them?
It's Alfredo. Yeah. But that's funny. I was talking to Tristan Hart. I was like, I need you to get out there on a snowmobile with me so I can destroy you. It's like you do to me on the dirt bike course.
Yeah.
I've tried to get some others, but they're like, cold weather? We're not going to do that. I'm like, come on. You gear up right. It's not bad. You're working. It's not.
I was going to say, I think they would like it. Maybe, like you said, if they're geared up
Oh,
right,
yeah.
you don't get cold. So
And I think Alfredo likes the challenge of riding snowmobiles. Like he's been on my snow bike a lot, and he's really good on snow bike. He's also familiar with snow. But I mean, he's really good on a snow bike. Any of those guys, of course, like if they go from racing like top in their game at hard enduro to snow bike, they'll ride really good. Although snow's a little different, right? Like you put your foot down, you're gonna tip over.
right.
You'll see that happen
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah, that's funny. Chris's other question was if you could only ride dirt bikes or snowmobiles for the rest of your life, which would you choose?
Yeah, putting me on the spot, Chris. Come on, man. Oh, that's tough. That's real tough. I don't know. I would say, I don't know. The freedom of snowmobiles is very special. Yeah. When you can go anywhere you want is really cool. So, snowmobile.
Good answer. Good answer. We'll say that was the right answer. Kale Ailes from Instagram said, "How do I get started in hill climb racing?"
Yeah, good question. So we kind of touched base on this a little earlier, but depending on your age and skill level, there's different classes for you to be in. If you're younger, you can race in junior and amateur, or you can jump in semi-pro and race all 4 of the semi-pro classes. I would just recommend checking out the Rimshaw website and getting in touch with one of us pro racers, and we'll kind of get you lined out and on the path that you need to be on. So you know what you need to do.
What safety gear do you need?
As far as safety gear, just a chest protector, tech vest, chest protector. Knee shin guards are always good.
But they're not required.
Yeah, they're not required.
The tether thing was kind of a big deal, but now I think they all have tethers, right?
Yeah, now all have tethers. Maybe knee shin guards are required. I don't know on that one, but you should wear some sort of knee shin protector.
I think they are.
Yeah, I think they
I
are.
remember when I was racing.
Yeah, I should remember that. But yeah, that and just, try to familiarize yourself with Rimshaw and check out the Rimshaw website, read through it well. Check out the ISR, the rules, and everything like that. Depending on what class you're going to get in, they have ISR has different rules for different classes. But all of us racers kind of have that stuff memorized, so we can kind of point you in the right direction. And it's not a bad process to get your sled ready to go for racing, and it's really fun for what it is.
All right, cool. All right, I know we're getting close to the time. You got to cut off and leave. One more question. Bryson Duncan asked on Instagram, "What does snowmobiling look like in 10 years?"
Hovercraft status. Nuclear hovercraft.
Do you feel the powder on a hovercraft?
You can. You just got to dip in there. You get that shoulder in.
Maybe hardpack would feel like powder on a hovercraft.
Lighter, faster, quicker.
Yeah.
More expensive.
Probably more expensive, but cooler.
You think we'll hit 30K MSRP?
Yeah, I bet.
How soon?
Maybe 10 years.
I think it'll stabilize for a few years.
I think so too.
And then it'll creep back up.
Well, if they start doing a bunch of lightweight stuff, I mean, look at Brant. Like I said, he's always cheating, putting lightweight stuff on. I mean, how much money does he have into his sleds?
A lot. Yeah.
A lot. So, I mean, you start talking carbon fiber and titanium, stuff gets really expensive really fast.
Which is funny because we're always asking for lighter. But I think, if they could say, okay, would you pay another $8,000? You're like,
Yeah.
no. I just want lighter it's kind of
Yeah.
the best of both worlds, right? Same price, lighter.
Exactly.
Well, 8,000's only what, another $160 on a payment, $140 on a payment. So
Yeah.
There you
doable.
go.
Yeah.
It's fun to have the latest and greatest.
yeah, and I would love to see like a Barant lightweight factory mod, as long as you can still go buy the other stuff. I mean,
Right.
that's one thing that the snowmobile industry does probably worse than everybody else is us consumers. We go buy the top tier stuff, no matter what we actually need or what would suit our needs the best.
Mm-hmm.
We just want the coolest one every year.
I know. I struggle with that with vehicles though too, because it's like you get the high country, and then you get to enjoy it, and then you could sell it from when you're done with it.
Yeah.
So it's like,
It's true.
I don't know. It's kind of nice to just buy the best, and then you get to sell the best, and
Yeah,
it's a win-win.
nobody wants to drive a Ford Maverick. All right, Keith Curtis from Dillon, Montana. Great having you on the show. Yeah, we're going to go up and hang out with you a little bit at Rexburg Motorsports here for the dealer show, but it'd be fun to keep having you on throughout the season. You got a lot of stories to tell and a lot of good information to add. And thanks for coming on. And Justin, thanks for coming in and helping co-host.
Yeah. Glad I could be here.
All right, everybody.
Looking forward to the season. It's going to be a fun year. Hopefully we all have a good snow year, and just looking forward to getting out there with the friends and having some fun and having a good old time like we always do.
Yeah, hopefully bring the snow on. Hey, go to snowwest.com. Check out our latest merch. We've got hats, shirts, hoodies, everything you need. Subscribe to Snow West Magazine. And if you want to check out more episodes of the Snow West Show, go to YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts. And we'll catch you guys later.